you, Hendrik, for the invitation. It is my pleasure to be a part of this event, and I'm going to share my presentation with you in a moment. Hopefully you see my screen. So
Yes.
as my former panelists, I've also presented some cases connected with innovative approaches and creative practices in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, but I want to show you some examples from Poland. I think we already know that pandemic has changed the way people function in public space. On the one hand, it brought anxiety and depression, but I think also individualized the experience of the disease, forced people to isolate themselves, and brought the risk of further atomization. But on the other hand, the pandemic also allows us to see more clearly political, economic, ecological, and artistic alternatives. Alliances were formed before our eyes, so we can see a new initiatives, activist models were created. There were social and democratic solutions that emerged. Actually that can be used to create a different model of public space and city. But the pandemic also forced us to ask the questions. For me, as an urban planner and architect, there were two main questions: how city and its public space will evolve and should change, and what is or should be the new role of art in public space. And I see it from my perspective rather as a possibility, not as a lost chance, and I'm going to prove that in this short presentation. So I prepared some case studies locations from Poland, mainly from Warsaw, from capital, but also from Gdynia, Tree City, where I came from, and Szczecin and Sosnowiec, just briefly because of the time. So first, a very interesting initiative that took place in Warsaw was where murals will be fine, giving hope. These were the ideas for the slogans were selected from the proposals of the Good Looking Studio, and the murals were created in parallel. They were on display on several weeks, and their main aim was to give hope to people during difficult time, during lockdown, where people were not able to go to work, or they have to work in a distance. So they were 4 murals presented in a very city center of Warsaw, with different quotation, like Warsaw, it will be still beautiful, or heads up, Warsaw, it will be fine. But I think that the artist itself gives the most, let's say, interesting answer to this question. We feel that there is an overflow of negative information, black statistics, and visions of post-pandemic crisis in the media of all kinds. Therefore, we wanted to give the inhabitants of Warsaw something positive, a light at the end of the tunnel, and hope for a better tomorrow. We have painted simple and huge slogans on our best walls in the center of Warsaw. The background of the slogans was supposed to be optimistic, expressive, and lively. So here are some more examples from the same project. As you can see, they are implemented in a city center of the capital. And actually, they were giving hope to people, especially in this difficult time. The second initiative was was a mural, actually very well known in this time. It was the mural created in thanks to doctors, nurses, and representative of all medical professionals helping during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the same as before project, this one arose a considerable interest around the world. This Warsaw mural is actually a beautiful initiative in which a lot of people got involved. One of the media companies came up with an idea and decided to express a big thank you to medical staff. And artists from Good Looking Studio who deal with professional painting of murals were invited to cooperate. This Tamka 37 housing community also decided to join the action by making one of the walls of the buildings available. So here we've got also public participation in this artistic action. Everyone involved in the project resigned from their share of honorarium. Like this kind of action was a kind of giving gratitude to people who actually served us in this difficult time. The next example was a kind of rising awareness towards people, inhabitants of different cities to wear masks, because it was a problem in some cities that people avoid wearing masks, even if from April it was mandatory in public spaces, also in closed building, to wear masks. And from April 14th, there are two buses running around Gdynia with large masks on the front. In doing so, the city is promoting the use of face masks, which are mandatory in public spaces nationwide. But of course, in the public space, you can see much more references to the coronavirus pandemic and the obligation to wear masks. And in other cities in Poland, like in Szczecin, a bus was painted by employees of the bus company in the front with a mask. And this was also a kind of thank you for people who sew and donate protective masks to the health service and city residents. This kind of initiative, connected again with wearing a mask, was implemented in other Polish cities. For example, in Sosnowiec or in Gdynia, the wearing of masks was promoted by very familiar inhabitants of the city or of Poland by implementing the face mask onto the statues. So here you see the examples. But very important and I think interesting example was the competition called Public Space in Times of Plague. And here you can see the final project, the project that won. It was work by Julia Piwowarska and Marta Kwiatek. And it was a manual neighborhood communicator. And the jury appreciated this idea very much because of building and strengthening social bonds in the community. This competition was actually organized by the Design Institute in Kielce, and it was a very simple idea to give space in a kind of organized space for people who wanted to give help, and they were just giving their telephone number and writing, I will help with pleasure, I will do you shopping, and giving their telephone number. Actually, young people were very much involved in this project because they feel they can help old people in simple everyday life, shopping or other things. This competition consisted of 2 stages and everything was actually thanks to internet platform. It was individual evaluation, but also consultation via internet platform. And just to conclude, because of very short time. Art in public space during COVID-19 pandemic is a tool for, actually, for my perspective, giving a hope. And these were examples from Warsaw or from Gdynia. Also strengthening growing awareness, which was very important at the beginning of the pandemic, because people were actually or were not aware how to behave in public spaces. But another aspect was enhancing social integrity and connection. And this was the last project I was presenting. And from public space and social integration, it was really important. And the last, not least, very important, expressing gratitude, giving our thanks to people who actually were working very, very hard to bring hope and help to the others. There are a lot of lessons learned, but for me, I think three are very important. That grassroots artistic initiative in public space really matter. So even if they are spontaneous actions or random actions, they can really give a new meaning to public space. A positive arts message in public space is needed during a pandemic. And as the artist expression I was quoted, bring this, that we need this positive aspect of life during the time which was terrifying us, at least at the beginning. So art was a tool that could bring it in a very good way. And the last one, that art interventions in public space can also be tool for further well-targeted transformations of public space in future. Thank you very much. Thank you.